Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another forecast. So it's been about a week since my last forecast, mostly because we've been seeing a pretty big lull in really any interesting weather, at least to me. Mostly I focus on severe weather because that's what I know best. Also, I haven't posted much because I've been busy. I'm still a high school student, so school comes first. But again, there's been this lull in severe weather for quite a bit. I mean, this is from last week. This is last week's Valentine's Day. We're looking at storm reports and just there's like nothing going on here. I mean, I think a few scattered hail on one day. We've just seen a few scattered hail reports. Oh, there was this day with a few tornadic cells here in Florida as well, but otherwise just nothing really too interesting. There was a day with California being involved as well, but again, nothing has really come to fruition, in quite a while. So there's just not really been much for me to report on. But we do have this one event going on for next week, Monday, I think, sorry, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I believe. So this is the day 4 to 8 severe weather outlook. I believe they do one of these per day, if I'm not mistaken. They might update more frequently, or just depending on how the new models show. But I think 2 days ago there was a day 7 outlook, which is pretty. Day 7 is really that's pretty ballsy. I mean, that's far out. 7 days is a lot to be like, hey, look, there's gonna be severe weather in this area. So in the day 7 outlook, I believe it was somewhere around this whole area, and there was a date, and the next day there was another day 7 outlook for like a big swath of area like this. So as we've gotten closer to the event, this is the first day has gotten a lot smaller and confined to this region, and day 6 similarly confined to a smaller region as well. The main reason for this is because of a 500 millibar trough, which I'll look at in a bit. Because first, I want to look at today's weather pattern. So let's go all the way back over here. I'm gonna use my more recent models. There's just not really much going on across the country. Look at the 500 millibar, a really big low pressure up here. This is all associated with that. Just a lot of flow, just like so. I believe at the surface we're not seeing anything else that's too unique either. Just again, this low pressure is basically all that's dominating the United States right now. Um, maybe a center of low right here. But one thing that's going on is actually this is bringing a lot of colder temperatures to the United States real quick. So let me zoom back out again. Apologize for that. The 500 millibar low. These gray temperatures or these gray colors mean lower temperatures. -26 degrees Celsius. This is basically a bunch of Arctic air that's been able to kind of rush its way into the country. Basically, what that means is we're gonna see a little bit of lake effect snow actually. So if I look at the surface temperature here, I'll go to the Midwest, especially just around the Great Lakes. Actually, go to the Great Lakes sector. So let me outline this real quick. Here's Lake Superior, a little Buffalo, Michigan right here. I believe this is Huron. I'm not 100% sure on my Great Lakes, but Great Lakes are right around here, and we have Michigan right in here. A little hard to see in all these colors. So hopefully this helps out a little bit. But basically what's going on with this event is, nothing too significant. There's actually a special weather statement out for my little area up here in northern Illinois because of this colder temperatures from the Arctic air, as well as these winds are going through the Great Lakes. That basically means any moisture in the Great Lakes. So let me click dew point here. Higher moisture in the Great Lakes, that will basically just push its way this way, and that could create a little flurries, which could create some more dangerous like conditions, people driving. This is basically all over this whole region, right? You see some lake effect snow here in northern Ohio. Maybe, maybe here in the Michigan area, Ohio. Lake effect snow, that's really the only thing going on for the entire United States at the moment. It's just, again, a lot of these temperatures are moving south with freezing temperatures at night. You can see this persists into Sunday as well. But otherwise, there's nothing that I can really report on too much with my knowledge. But what I can talk about is the severe weather that we are going to be seeing. So the 500 millibar map we're starting to see here is a low pressure forming way out here, way up here in Canada, excuse me. Very broad, right? So I'm gonna use the GFS because it's basically the only long range model I can really see everything with on this forecasting page. So we'll go to the GFS now, and you can see, oops, a little fast there. So way up here, kind of your Washington, Idaho. Oh, that's a bad color for that. We'll do blue. Up here, now see, the winds are turning this direction, right? As we talked about before on this channel, a lot of times when you see winds that turn like this, that's counterclockwise rotation. That doesn't necessarily mean there's like a huge hurricane. That's kind of what those are sometimes, but low pressures, they rotate counterclockwise like so. And essentially that means right here we're starting to see a really broad low pressure forming, kind of like what we're seeing right now in our current pattern with this broad low pressure up here. We're seeing another one forming right here, and this will make its way across the United States. A lot of very strong flow aloft as well. This is 500 millibars, so that's somewhere around 5,000 feet in the atmosphere, I believe, 5,000 meters. Shows right here, 5,000 meters in the atmosphere. So essentially, this low pressure is going to move across the entire United States, very, very, very broad, and that's often good for severe weather. The only thing here we're not seeing for severe weather is divergence aloft. So basically, the 500 millibar level, if you see winds that are kind of turning away from each other, that means the atmosphere is going to pull up. There'll be moisture. Sorry, excuse me. They will take up air from underneath it, right? So if there's this, again, this divergence, right? So that can be kind of shown by the wind barbs. See the little lines here. Not too right here would be a good example of divergence, right? So you can see that winds are kind of spreading apart right here. So the atmosphere is probably going to try to do is initiate storm development in this little region here. It's going to bring up air from the the surface or right here in the Atlantic Ocean, bring it up from below, and that's kind of where we get our storm formation. So when we see defluence aloft or divergence aloft, that means that it's a better chance for like surface-based storms, just because again the atmosphere does not like being empty. That's what it'll try to do, and it'll try to pull up that air from underneath. So as I talked about, the main threats are Tuesday and Wednesday. But looking at this pattern, you would expect to see severe weather maybe out here in Nebraska, Kansas, and Oklahoma, basically on this exit region of the trough. However, what we're actually seeing is surface low development here in the Midwest. So let me move to a more recent model. It's still loading as well, so I won't be able to go too far in the future with the 18Z, but it is more recent, so it's more accurate. What we're seeing here in the Midwest is surface low development. I would say up here maybe. The surface low forms right here, kind of in Minnesota and South Dakota. You can see again, the wind bar is moving this way, then they turn around like so. That's our low pressure forming. And what this is going to do is actually create quite a bit of forcing. So before I talk about Tuesday's threat, actually, I want to touch on maybe something for Monday even, which is kind of weird. I saw supercell composite kind of spurred up right here, which I didn't really understand much myself. I'm still looking into that as well. So if I have a better update on that, I will probably put it out. But again, dew point temperatures as well. It's kind of showing a slightly uncapped environment here. There is possible this to be instability here. There's seems to be convective inhibition in place here. That'll cap the atmosphere and kind of stop things from forming. The main initiator for the Monday event, I'm not really sure, but it seems like severe weather is looking to return to the Midwest and Illinois as a whole. So, photograph here, turning the low levels, veering of winds, a little bit veer back as well. So, kind of a goofy looking photograph. Pretty strong Cape values though. That's a bad circle. Pretty bad Cape values, negative 236. That's not really good for storms. But it is a possible threat. I don't really think it's going to come to fruition, mostly because the SPC hasn't really put anything out about it. If there was actually something going on, there'd probably be a day 4 outlook here. Might see a marginal risk, otherwise nothing too severe. Tuesday, however, that's our main threat, right? So we look at our wind barbs here. We see a lot of them more out of the west on this half and more out of the south on this half. And that could lead to a little bit of a convergence band somewhere around here. And that's not just in this model. I've been looking at these for a while now. With the exception of the 12Z NAT or GFS, seeing a lot of this, right? Basically right here as well. This little convergence band. All the way back to the 0Z GFS from quite a bit ago. I think this might even be here in the 18Z as well. Again, more of the western components and more of the southern components on the other side. So this has been forecast for a while now, and that's why I think it's going to be our main initiators for Tuesday. Hopefully I can be out there chasing. We'll see what I can do with regarding that, especially if I can get some good footage of that. Dew points, the only thing we're seeing that is kind of an inhibitor for this event is this. So we can see this plume of drier air that's kind of trying to push its way in. And this has been kind of showing in basically every single run. 12Z model right here, the 6Z, not so much in the 0Z model, which is also kind of weird though. I've also been seeing it in the Euro model, which doesn't like to show too much. I have to look in this one right here. So right here we have the European model. I'm gonna move to dew point again. See if I can let it load real quick. The European model for Tuesday, again, just kind of this little hole, this little gap right here. Not in the exact same location, but again, a little more of a gap. You can see there's higher dew points right here, and there's kind of this, it's kind of a weird looking configuration here. So I'm thinking either A, this is the cold front showing up really quickly, which would be kind of weird, especially for this moment. It could be that as well. So again, our main issue here is the cold front. This could be the cold front just being quick, or it's just a weird gap from an EML, elevated mixed layer, which is basically just drying out the atmosphere where we'd want to see storms. But definitely a possibility that day. I don't want to go too in depth into it just because we're not too certain on the event. Also a possibility of some storms, basically with this whole event, even down south, just because of how much forcing there is involved, and just high enough dew points can lead to better conditions for supercell formation. Right, so I'm gonna zoom into the southeast sector here. Maybe not the best choice actually. Let's do the southern Great Plains. Load real quick. So a lot of, again, very strong southerly flow, which is basically bringing a lot of moisture into this whole region. And as this cold front from the north moves in, this could lead to some wind damage as well. The main threat I definitely think is more up here in the Midwest, closer to the surface low. We could see it down here near Texas and Oklahoma as well. So always something to look out for as well. Supercell composite, again, this is just a kind of a show of where supercells are most likely. Look at the contiguous United States here. More possible closer to the surface low as well, but you can't rule out possibilities for the next day as well down here in Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana. The SBC is also showing something kind of similar, more based in Tennessee and Kentucky here, I think. Again, probably because of that the huge cold front that's be surging across the United States. Again, cold fronts, especially with a huge temperature gradient like this, those are very forcing. So basically, they'll make anything that can rise up, and that's how we get wind damage a lot of the time. It's just this huge linear threat. So that's probably our main threat, severe weather-wise. For tornadoes are probably up here in Illinois for that Tuesday event. I'm definitely not out of the question in a QLCS anywhere else, but I think that wind damage is going to be the other threat for the other days. The SBC also doesn't really know about Thursday, at least it's Thursday here, and Friday as well, just because, again, it's hard to predict those. That's what they're saying. It's hard to predict, and the models aren't 100% in agreement for those days. Definitely for the Tuesday event, you can see they placed it right about where we're talking about, and basically right where this supercell composite is showing as well, along this little corridor from Illinois, Missouri, and maybe little bits of other states surrounding them. You can see, again, similar shape right there as well. Day 6 should show something similar as well. Supercell composite. It doesn't push as far up into Kentucky and Tennessee here, but same thing. Severe weather is returning. It's something I'm excited about, not because people could be in danger, just because it's something I'm definitely interested in. And it'd be nice to see as well. So, look at Supercell composite in the most recent runs. It's less severe for sure, but it's definitely still showing it for Illinois. So there will be another forecast update, especially for this event, because again, I'm hoping to chase this, so I want to make sure I'm very well versed in really what's going on, the specifics of the event as well. So if anything comes up, I'll definitely post another one of these. If there's any questions on this event too, I can try to answer those in comment section. But again, main inhibitor is going to be the cap inversion. Just looking at the photographs, that's the main thing that we've been seeing. So a little curious on that front, but 2 main inhibitors. That's our cap in the environment, and possible lower moisture. We'll see how this event goes out though, and especially once I finally get the NAM run close enough to the event. We're just out of it, so I think tomorrow's run should show the Tuesday probabilities. So I'll be looking forward to that. Otherwise, thank you for watching this forecast, and I'll see you next time.